read all about it. The Steelers had a hard time keeping up with this Jones, who stepped into the starting lineup and stepped out with 2 TDs, rejuvenating the offense. Meanwhile, Momar and company put the kibosh on Pittsburgh, harassing Mark Malone while holding the Steeler running game to just 81 yards. Also, will Blacks break the barrier to become a head coach in the NFL? We'll hear the truth and nothing but here on Vikings Tonight.
Vikings Tonight, brought to you by Midwest Federal, your good tree to come to since 1890.
And good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Vikings Tonight. I'm Mark Rosen. 31-7 over the Pittsburgh Steelers. You have to go back to the strike-shortened 82 season to find a more lopsided Viking victory. Yeah, they beat the Bears then, 35-7. Our co-host, defensive captain Scott Studwell, who was going crazy on the side, sitting out just his 3rd game since 1977 because of an injury. Special teams captain Greg Coleman, who I'm sure will talk at length about that 69-yard punt. And running back Darren Nelson, who had a lot of offensive help today. There was a coming-out party at the Dome this afternoon. The entire offense awakened with 22 first downs and 412 total yards. The leader of the hit parade airborne division is Hassan Jones, the rookie out of Florida State. Jones captured 6 passes for 140 yards and 2 touchdowns. Now keep in mind, wide receivers had caught a grand total of only 6 passes into today's game.
The biggest thing that happened to us was the offense was clicking today, and we haven't been able to do that over the past few weeks. And today we were able to pressure off the defense, which made them play a lot better, and you know, things were clicking for both sides today.
The rookie's first touchdown was a 55-yard bomb, an explosive experience in spite of his inexperience.
You can't expect him to come in and set the world on fire. And, you know, but today, you know, we worked all week against Pittsburgh on the things they do and, you know, blitz situations and things like that. We executed well, had the time to throw the football. And when teams blitz you, you have an opportunity to play if you can pick them up.
Jones got his chance because Anthony Carter is still out with an injury. And Jones made the most of it. TD number 2 was a 16-yard shot over the middle. Indeed, the offense was prepared for the Steelers' helter-skelter defense.
They play a lot of different things. You know, they stun a lot, and they have a lot of blitzes. They play some double zones, so we weren't really sure what we were going to get, but we prepared for everything, and I think that's why we executed so well.
Tommy Kramer finished today 19 for 27, 257 yards and 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Darren, you said last week the Vikings are going to need more production from their wide receivers. Guys look like a new offensive team out there this afternoon.
Yeah, well, I think we're clicking with all 8 cylinders going today. As you said earlier, the wide receivers had to get back into the offense. Tommy had an excellent night. I think overall in general, this was a better team game than we've had here for quite some time. Pittsburgh has been struggling, let's face it, but defensively, they good players defensively. Well, I think all you have to do is look back to the Denver game. You know, they played Denver pretty tough. I think they were down 14-10 in the 4th quarter. So, you know, Pittsburgh does have a real awesome defense. Greg, it was a relief to look up at that scoreboard in the 4th quarter and see the Vikings with a laugher for once.
Well, you know, I think this is the kind of game that we really needed to get up under our belts, you know, to get the offense moving, the defense involves a fine job. And it was just a good win to have all the way around. You know, it's going to be good for this Viking team.
You know, someone once said pain and injuries are in the contract. Scott Studwell knows experienced more than his share. Actually, he's only missed 3 times games. He missed one this afternoon. Scott, you look like a caged tiger out there on the sidelines. Not exactly the place you want to be during a football game.
It was difficult. I'm not accustomed to being on the sidelines and watching. And it's very hard. I can certainly empathize with some of the guys that have to sit there and watch games, like the Wade Wilsons and some guys that really want to play and don't have the opportunity to. But when you win and everybody played as well as they did, it certainly makes it a lot easier.
Are you going to be ready next week?
I think so, yeah. I don't see any problem. I think I could have played today if they really needed me. I think Walker Lee and Jesse both came in and played extremely well and did the job that they were expected to do.
Let's look at Jesse Solomon here, number 54.
Well, Jesse's playing very well. He certainly has all the talent. He's got all the tools. He's got some things to learn, obviously. He's a young player, but they certainly feel like he's going to be a great player for us. And he's come in and played extremely well when he's been called on. It's a great tribute to him, and it's a great tribute to our defense.
So he's learning a new position. He's probably better suited for the outside, too.
I think so. I think he's probably a better weak side linebacker than maybe a Mike linebacker. But in our defense, all three linebackers really should be able to play either position, and with maybe the exception of myself. But most of all the linebackers that we do have are very versatile, and I think any one of them can play any position on the field.
Who paced more on the sidelines today, you or Bernsey?
I don't know. I think I probably put in about 5.5 miles. Bernsey might have put in about 6.
I have a feeling we're going to see Scott Studwell back in the lineup again next week.
You can count on it.
To chain you down. Well, the Steelers were very much, in the ball game midway through the third quarter. It was a little bit deceiving. The Vikings led 17-7, but Pittsburgh had the ball, and they were on the move. The beleaguered Pittsburgh quarterback, Mark Malone, took advantage of excellent field position. The Steelers have quality wide receivers in Louis Lipps and John Stallworth. Lipps' 17-yard reception moved the ball to the Vikings' 34. A Pittsburgh touchdown would slice the Viking lead to 3. Malone hooked up with John Stallworth for 14 more yards. It was on this play that Keith Millard claims he was illegally blocked. It wasn't called, but Millard then helped turn the tide.
Well, Reinstra, their left guard, came down to my knee as I was pursuing the play. And, those are cheap shots to me, but he said somebody threw them on me, so it was no big deal. But I was just pretty upset because, I've had knee problems before, and at this point in the game, I didn't need anything to take me out. I was pretty upset. So that's what happens.
You have the end zone in your sights there?
Actually, I was starting to get dizzy. I was so tired from pass rushing the play before, but I just ran it as far as I can go. I saw some guys in pursuit and just went out of bounds with it.
Vikings tonight live from our Channel 4 studios. It sounds trite, but it's true. The Vikings are 2-1 because all facets of their 45-man roster contributed. The special teams certainly keep improving. Your area of expertise, Greg, the development has been there from day one.
Well, special teams is a phase of football that a lot of people, a lot of fans really don't take a whole lot of interest in unless there is something that happens to go wrong. But it's a collective effort, and guys who are starting on defense, Scott was, starting linebacker. He's a personal protector on the punt team. So everyone has to contribute and make sure that things, it's just something that's got to go smooth. Rufus Best has been doing a good job returning punts. Buster had a great kickoff return that was nullified by our penalty. And, the cover teams and Chuck Nelson has been doing a good job, and it's just a phase of football that we got to have.
We're going to look at Chuck Nelson's 49-yard field goal. He's really becoming quite a weapon. What does it mean to a team when you have such complete confidence in the field goal kicker?
Well, it's going to mean 2 or 3 games down the road. When you got 3 or 4 seconds left on the clock, you call on a guy to put the ball through the uprights. Like Bernsey says, sometimes with 3 seconds left, those goalposts can look like railroad tracks, and Chuck has got the temperament to do it well.
Here's the other Nelson. Darren, this is a lot of fun in this run.
Mark, this is the only thing I did all day.
Well, we can watch it 8 or 9 times if you'd like.
All I did was block the rest of the day.
Do you remember making any of these moves when you see this tape?
I never remember making any moves. It's all instinct. Once the first play goes, I'm totally tired, exhausted, and I don't know what's going on. I just run. I just see an opposite color and I run.
A lot more fun than busting up the middle.
Right.
It was a great run by Darren Nelson, 42 yards. Here's a key play I thought of the game here, the third quarter. They had the blitz on here.
Also, Mark, I think we had 4 wide receivers in, and that was one of the better calls of the evening because we had 4 wide receivers, and I think everybody in the stadium thought that we were going to pass the ball. Allen made a great run.
Jim Gustafson, 2 for 2, 2 pro catches, 2 touchdowns, not too shabby.
Mark, I can't buy a touchdown. I think it takes me maybe 6 or 7 games to score 2 touchdowns, and Gus has 2 receptions and 2 touchdowns.
Very quickly, getting back to Allen Rice's touchdown, the Steelers had just declined a penalty at that point. The Vikings, they could have given the Vikings the 3 points, at least the attempt at the field goal. I'm sure the Vikings were happy to see them decline to get another shot at the play.
Well, you have to take that gamble. They were down, and I think they needed something to get them back in the ball game. Fortunately for us, it worked out in our favor.
31-7 was your favor. The big win for the Minnesota Vikings. And instant replay guys certainly had a lot to do with the game. They like it or not, technology is here to stay. You know, it's not the eighth wonder of the world, but it is the eighth eye in the sky, the electronic replay, which felt its presence this afternoon.
In the second quarter, Steve Jordan got a gift from the replay ref, a catch called incomplete by the striped shirts on the field.
We're certainly convinced you caught your pass.
Oh, there's no question about that.
Sometimes the replay ref giveth, sometimes he taketh away, which happened on this play. Leo Lewis admitted he fumbled, but he came up with the ball to no avail.
They really didn't explain it on the field, so I would like to have an explanation too. I'm anxious to see the replay also.
Another incident involved Jones. This time the refs in the eye in the sky saw, well, eye to eye. Hassan agrees with the call, but that's all.
I think it was a good call, and maybe they need to throw out the instant replay forever.
Yes, throw out the instant replay forever. What do you guys think? Is it good or bad for the game?
I think it's good. I think, first of all, it gives the fans and gives the players an opportunity to see exactly what happens. I don't like it if it's gonna bear on the outcome of the football game. I think it takes some of the human element out of it. But I think what you saw in Leo's case, they ruled it a fumble, which it was, but he recovered the football, and they still gave him the football.
That's what's hard to believe, Scott. I mean, guys are looking at it upstairs, the booth, the replay official. They could see that he fumbled the ball, but I would think they could just carry it a few extra frames and see who recovered it.
Well, I think it only makes sense. If they're going to have it, they might as well use it right.
Greg, would you feel the same way, you guys?
Well, obviously, you've got to get some calls that are going to go for you, and some are going to go against you, you know, and we had both instances today. As Scott mentioned, it does take a little bit of the human element out of the game. These officials, they aren't the, they aren't the brightest guys in the world all the time. I mean, what the heck? But, you know, they do the best job that they humanly can. And now with the help of the instant replay, they've got another element, another little piece of toy to play with.
Well, you know, Darren Budgren used to harp on full-time officials all the time. He said that was the answer, the way to go, as opposed to instant replay and all these other toys.
Well, I think that might be something to do because some of them are awful portly to me, too. You know, some of those guys running around out there are pretty big.
They can't keep up with the game, you're saying.
Yeah, and the game is really fast. You know, Hassan's a fast receiver, and those guys have to run down there and then make a call. And, you know, I think sometimes the guys just can't do it.
It's all leading up really to the playoffs. You know, Mike Linden talked with him last week, said that's the key thing, how this thing will perform in the playoffs. They'll have a lot more angles to look at, too. And if it doesn't work in the playoffs, they'll probably throw it out for next year.
It's going to be interesting.
Okay. Well, it helped you out today. At least you got one of the calls.
Throw it out.
Throw it out. Okay. Coming up, our focus feature on black coaches in the National Football League. Black players dominate the game, comprising 51% of the numbers. But out of some 260 assistant coaches, there are only 36 blacks and no head coaches. Coming up, will blacks break the barrier? That's up next. Probably so. For instance, Major League Baseball wasn't integrated until 1947. Public schools were desegregated only later. What about the NFL? Well, today, blacks dominate the numbers, but at the players' level, not in management or head coaching.
Simply put, there are no black head coaches, and never have been. Currently, there are 28 teams in a league that has spanned over 50 years. How do you explain it?
And I don't think it has anything to do with racism at all. I think it has to do with the old buddy system. You want to bring in coaches that you know for a long period of time, and coaches that have NFL experience for a long period of time.
But Mike Lynn, there's a catch, according to Tony Dungy.
It is. It's a little bit of a catch-22, and someone's got to take the first step. And when they do and hire a guy and teams see that it can be done successfully, then I think you'll see more and more of it come.
Dungy is one of the NFL's best and brightest. Only 30, he's Pittsburgh's defensive coordinator. Only one of 3 black coordinators in the entire league. Jimmy Ray is Tampa's offensive coordinator. After a decade in the NFL coaching ranks, he knows the score.
Basically, I don't think you can ever be totally satisfied with the numbers. I think when there are 8 or 9 coaches to a staff, that the number increases should be far more than they are. But I think there's been progress made along those lines. I've been in a lot of different cities in the National Football League as an assistant coach, and in most cases have been the only black assistant coach on the staff.
Team owners aren't always to blame for the incongruity. More often than not, scouts and general managers catch the owner's ear.
I think it's a combination of where the owner gets his information from, because he doesn't know the assistant coaches in the league, and he gets his information from people that deal with the people on a day-to-day basis.
Neither Ray nor Dungy would set a timetable, but both are certain the time will come.
I definitely think it will. I think that, you know, just the normal strides that society is making in other areas of our society will dictate that there'll be a change made in the National Football League, and I think there'll be a head coach in the National Football League in the very near future.
Dungy was asked if the question of race gets tiresome.
Yes, I do, and there are a lot of coaches out there who can do the job, and eventually, as I say, it's going to happen. Hopefully, it'll happen pretty quick, and then we won't have to deal with it anymore.
Should add that the Vikings, among other teams, have never had a black assistant coach, although Mike Lynn said the jobs were offered to Charlie West and Will Phillips, among others. Guys, do you think it's a question of racism, or is it the buddy-buddy system, as Mike Lynn says it is?
I think what Mike said was very true. The coaching fraternity is a very close-knit fraternity, and I think you have to realize that generally the coaches that have been in the league stay in the league. And when a team fails and the players aren't playing well, it's generally the coaching staff that suffers the most. And you can't fire the team, you can only fire the staff. And generally what happens is that staff will go somewhere else as assistants. So I think a lot of the coaches that you see in the league today are coaches that have been a lot of different places. And, you know, our staff is a perfect example. We have, 3 or 4 new coaches this year that have been around the league, probably 3 or 4 different teams.
Floyd Peters, Bob Schnelker, name a few.
Sure. So it's not a question of racism. I don't think that's a question at all.
Is it puzzling to you, Greg?
Well, yes, it is, in a sense that you've got, it's not the fact that you don't have guys who are capable. Scott made an interesting point, made also Mike, you know, guys, your buddies, so to speak. But where does that stop? I mean, you've got Eddie Robinson who's down at Grambling, one of the greatest coaches of all time. Numerous coaches. You take a look, there are thousands and thousands of black athletes in black colleges, and they have to have black coaches, and they are capable of doing the job, and it's just a matter of being in the right place at the right time. There was a stigma, so to speak, years ago about the black quarterback. You can look at the black punters, you know, the black kickers being so, you know, in the same instance. But once that barrier is broken, just like Tony Dungy mentioned, once that barrier is broken, then it really won't be a whole big thing. But yes, I think it's about time, and hopefully it'll happen real soon.
Does it bother you, Darren, there aren't any black assistant coaches on the Vikings?
I think it's it can be bothersome. You know, when you think about it, I think the Vikings are maybe 50 or 60% black. And I think it would be nice to have a black older person to talk to about things.
Besides me.
Yeah, besides you. You're not quite old enough, Greg.
We'll get a black assistant as soon as we get a white running back.
Hey, we had a white running back.
Who is that now?
Rick Bell.
That's right. Well, Tony Dungy actually does have a great chance of being the first black head coach. He's well respected around the league.
I think he'll be a very fine one.
Well, you were picking on Greg Coleman. That leads us to our next topic, of course. The fourth section, our final section of the show. We entitle it, Dump on Greg Coleman. It's a weekly feature. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Who missed our show last week from the airport, Nelson and Studwell were sort of on Coleman's case of just being a punter. Well, Greg says, I'm an athlete who just so happens to be a punter. Now, we have proof that Greg's not afraid to mix it up. You may not have seen this on your instant replay this afternoon. Here's Greg Coleman back to punt. Now, watch what happens. Big, mean linebacker Robin Cole nails him here. Greg, what in the world's going on here?
I mean, he got in my way. I mean, you know, I've got part of this turf, too, and I didn't realize who it was until he got up, and the guy is about 6'3", about 250. And I apologized to him because I knew I was going to see him again on the very next punt.
We saw you take that step back, Greg, when he started to get up.
69-yard punt here. Pretty impressive, huh?
Well, I mean, I'll take it every time. I mean, I've suffered enough over at the old Met Stadium when wind, rains, and snowstorms. So I think the good Lord is just, you know, he's just paying me back for this one.
Best shake of the year, Touch.
Hey, listen, at least I got on the field. At
You
least
played more than you did today,
Yeah,
man.
he did.
Yeah, and how did you get hurt? For those of you who missed our show last week, he fell on a football. He's a big, tough linebacker.
I had a lot of questions this week. You guys mad at each other from last week? I had people were wondering, did Greg Coleman and Darren Nelson really
I've been getting cards and letters from people,
Hey,
wondering.
That's right.
They felt sorry for you, Greg.
No,
they knew you weren't really an athlete, and they were, they felt sorry. I'm sorry, Greg. See, I'm going to get more now. I'm going to get more now.
Hey, guys, I don't know if you caught this or not. This week's issue of Sports Illustrated, they have a review of the highest paid players at each position in the National Football League. Figures from the Players Association. Now, for example, quarterback Jim Kelly, the highest paid at $1.4 million a year. Let's see here. Kelly, 1.4. Running back Marcus Allen of the Raiders, highest paid running back, $875,000. Marcus has had some great years, obviously. Lawrence Taylor of the Giants, regarded the best linebacker in football, $850,000 a year. And do you know who the highest paid punter is, according to this article? This guy.
It was a misprint.
$215,000 a year. More than Ray Guy?
It was a misprint.
You make that much?
$215,000.
$1,000.
That's $200,000 more than
For
he's
3
worth.
plays a game?
It says bonuses. This includes base salary.
Forget it. I don't have to take this.
Second
I
here.
don't have to take this.
No, this isn't print here.
Hey,
You
I
wanna
don't.
let Sports
Hey,
Illustrated know
I
this
don't
is
care
not
what
right?
Sports
What
Illustrated
does that
says.
average out per play,
Don't
Greg?
worry about what it averages out. It's
Can we get a shot of this belt
whatever
buckle
it is,
here?
hey, whatever it is, it's not enough. All
Get a
right.
tight shot, Larry, of this belt buckle.
He donates to charity out of that
World
$215,000.
Wrestling Federation. This is the belt buckle this guy has.
Hey, that's right.
That stands for the wild world of flakes.
This shows you what kind of fantasy world Greg really lives in,
Hey, this was a gift from Hulk Hogan, and you keep talking this noise. I'm gonna have Hulk on the set.
Well, see, now, if you were a real athlete, you wouldn't need Hulk.
Hey, hey, forget it. Hey,
Well, Greg leaves the
forget it.
set.
Hey, I'm through.
Tomorrow night, you guys are playing the
Bye,
Packers. You got the Packers next week. They've beaten you 5 in a row, 10 of the last 12. Nothing easy, right, Scott?
No, we've had some real tough times with the Packers the last few years, and they're having some problems right now. And I think if we can continue the way we are and keep on the momentum that we're going on and just continue to improve every week like I think we are, we certainly feel that it's a game that we should win, and we're excited about playing them. We certainly feel like we've got an opportunity to get this thing going, and we owe the Pack a few.
Well, we'll probably see you back in the lineup, and just maybe Greg Coleman will be back with the show next week. You just never know.
Let's hope not.
The Vikings and the Packers. Next Sunday night, we'll have all the highlights right here on the Vikings Tonight. Thanks for watching. Good night, everyone. Good night, Greg, wherever you are.
Come back, Greg.